Start? Okay, fine. So, welcome and thank you everyone for joining this webinar. My name is Komal Kanodia, working as a brand manager with IVA MCure. MCure is a pioneer in the field of gynecology and IVF, and we at IVA are on a mission of nurturing 28 days of ovarian cycle. And our all webinars are called as Programming 28 webinars based on our theme of the year. Along with that, we have taken a lot of initiative, and Materna School of Thought is one of them. So I would like to thank Dr. Aradhana Gupta for giving us this opportunity of hosting this webinar today. And the topic of today's webinar is vaccination in pregnancy, including COVID. So before starting the webinar, just would like to introduce Dr. Aradhana, although she don't need any introduction, but would like to do the formality. Yes. So Dr. Aradhana Gupta has a vast experience of 25 years in the field of reproductive medicine and currently heading Aradhana Test Tube Baby Center, Bhopal as Director and Senior Consultant IVF. Aradhana Test Tube Baby Center is NABH accredited and enrolled with ICMR. She is visiting Senior Consultant IVF in various hospitals in Delhi NCR and former center head Bloom Fertility, Center Fortis Ascot, Faridabad. She is fellow in reproductive medicine from Padma Shri Diwar Patil, Mumbai. She has provided training to more than 50 gynacs under FOXY accredited advanced infertility training courses in Aradhana IVF Center, Bhopal, and performed many public awareness programs. Notwithstanding her activity field agenda, she has contributed academically in various national and international conferences and presented papers in RCOG, ISAR, and various national and international conferences. So a very warm welcome to Dr. Aradhana Gupta. Now, Doctor, I hand over the mic to you. You can start sharing your screen and please start the session.
Thank you, Komal. Thanks for the nice word and for the kind introduction. So right now I'm sharing my screen. Can you see my screen?
No, doctor. Yes.
Is it?
Now it's visible.
So it's a very important topic, immunization during pregnancy, because the guidelines keeps on changing, and an immunization program is a very successful and cost-effective method in any healthcare program of the world. So let's start with the able to change. Yeah, objectives. So what are the objectives? To provide an overview of the principal vaccination in pregnancy, to improve the confidence of health professional in discussing aspect of vaccination in pregnancy, and to provide a quick reference guide regarding the indications, contraindications, safety of the vaccines, different vaccines in pregnancy. So what are the basics? There are different kind of the vaccines. Live attenuated vaccine, where the virus is live, but attenuated means its virulence factor has been removed. Then the killed vaccine, this virus is killed. Then DNA vaccine and the fractionation vaccine. So these are some different kind of the vaccine. All the live vaccines, live viral vaccines, are not indicated in the pregnancy because it can multiply in the body and may go to the fetus. So this live vaccine generally require only a single booster. It is less stable. Humoral and cell-mediated immunity both are induced. It may revert to the virulent form anytime, and only that is why only small dose is required. And it is given by mostly natural route, like a polio vaccine, which is given orally. It is more potent because it's a live virus. It can multiply inside the body. But the killed vaccine, they require multiple booster doses. They are more stable. They are mainly humoral immunity induced. And they cannot, so most of the time they produce only the antibodies. They cannot revert to the virulent form because the virus cannot multiply, so it cannot change its virulency. Large doses are required and given by mostly injections. So the route is not a natural route; it's given by subcutaneous or by IM route, and they are less potent. That's why they require multiple booster doses. Now, what are the general principle of vaccination in pregnancy? What do you want in pregnancy? I mean, what you should know about the vaccination in pregnancy? So, ideally, women should be vaccinated against uh, the disease which are preventable and in their environment before pregnancy. Mostly, we recommend that vaccination should be done while you are planning for pregnancy. That is a good idea. And but if you are not immunized before and in a pre-conceptional period, then you have to go for vaccination, but not for the live virus vaccines. So when immunization is performed during pregnancy, benefit to the mother and fetus should outweigh risk, because vaccines could be potentially risky, theoretically I would say risky, although safety we have seen for the so many vaccines since years. And there is they are uh, quite safe even if given in pregnancy. But still, we avoid giving vaccine in first trimester. Toxoid inactivated virus vaccine immunoglobulins preparations are generally considered safe during the pregnancy, because they are evidence that there is no biological possibility of harmful effect over the fetus or to the mother. Uh, then if prompt administration is not medically indicated, just like rabies vaccine, many a time when there is a dog bite or it's a animal bite, then the prompt administration is needed. But if prompt administration is not medically indicated, then it is preferable to delay administration of these agents in the to the second trimester. So first trimester you avoid giving vaccines, and because that is the period of organogenesis. So these are the general principle of the vaccination in pregnancy. Now, what are the benefits in pregnancy? Number one, any infection which occurs in the pregnancy period, it poses a little bit of risk to the mother. Like, take example of influenza. It can cause severe illness to the pregnant women in comparison to the non-pregnant women. During pregnancy, there are some hemodynamic changes. There are changes in the immunity, response to immunity, like inflammatory response reduces in pregnancy. So that causes the easy entry of the any infective agent, and that that entry and multiplication is somehow not inhibited as in a non-pregnant woman, and that is more prone to create a severe illness as well as hospitalization and even death from the influenza. uh, so the high estrogen level and these all the high steroid levels, they reduce the inflammatory response, and that is why when the organism causes the illness, it will become more severe. Then this infection would pose a risk to fetus also. So there are some diseases which increases the risk to the fetus also. And WHO reported that neonatal tetanus kill over 200,000 newborn each year. That is a really a big number. And almost all these deaths occur in the developing countries, while it is very rare in developed nation. Why? Because they have compulsory, this tetanus immunization program. And with the increased immunization program of tetanus in India, now we see very few cases of neonatal tetanus. And what I remember, when we were in the medical college, the tetanus ward was full of people and as well as neonates. But right now we occasionally see such cases. Vaccine benefit in pregnancy. If you see here, the likelihood of disease exposure is high. Uh, just like a pertussis in the household, you see if the mother is infected, the main which this is the main source of the infection. While if other person in a family infected, the chances of percentage of infection will be lesser. And but there are some obstacle also to the vaccine in pregnancy, because there are a lot of myths. Initially, the first vaccination was started for the smallpox, and when this vaccination program was started, people were very scared of taking these smallpox vaccines, and it was really a very big obstacle to immunize people for the smallpox, which was really a deadly disease, and almost 30% people they die because of the smallpox. Was once the vaccination was started, the hardly 0.1% people they die because of the inoculation, and because initially the inoculation was of different kind. Later on, Edward Jenner, he made this, virus which was attenuated. So, mother may refuse vaccination. Number one, they wish to avoid any potential exposure to the fetus in utero. They really, I mean, like for the COVID-19 situation, the mother may think my fetus might get infected. My fetus might get some mentally retarded or some congenital anomaly. So they are really scared of taking a risk. It's kind of the experimental for them, and there are some public misconception also. They perceive it as a dangerous, like it happened in 2009 when H1N1 influenza vaccine was introduced. Then there is a molecule which is like thimerosal, which is a preservative agent actually, and contains a very less amount of the mercury. But people they concern about it that it can potentially affect the baby, although there are no proven evidence that show that these traces of mercury can affect the baby. Then other obstacle, like they some people they want that it should be FDA approved, but none of the vaccine is pregnancy category A. Only bivalent HPV is pregnancy category B, anthrax is D type, and all other are category C. So as I already told you, we outweigh the risk and associated with the infection and the effect on mother and fetus health. And then we decide which vaccine should be given in pregnancy and which should not be given. So let's start with the vaccine indicated during uh, every pregnancy. It's all like number one is the inactivated influenza vaccine, because there is one more influenza vaccine where we have live virus and that is taken as an intranasal spray. But we take inactivated influenza vaccine, which is given intramuscular, and that should be given as early as possible. And if you can give in a and before conception, pre-conception phase, then this is the best thing. So the first dose should be given pre-conception phase. Second dose, if patient by chance get pregnant, no issue, you can give second dose around 27 weeks onwards. And if it is not given in pre-conception phase, then you can give it a little early, like 14 to 16 weeks. Wait for the first trimester to pass on, and then you can give this influenza vaccine. Then another is the tetanus or TD. I would suggest TD is better option, which has the reduced diphtheria toxide also. So tetanus plus diphtheria, that again should be given after the first trimester or somewhere around 24 weeks, and at place of the tetanus toxide. And if even if and third is the Tdap. These three shots are really important in pregnancy. One is influenza, another is TD, and third is the Tdap. Three shot must be given. If Tdap has been taken earlier in previous pregnancy, even it should be given, because here Tdap we are giving for the baby. So it should be given in the last trimester, somewhere 27 weeks onwards to up to 36 weeks. It's better to be given not at least 2 weeks before the EDD or planned pregnancy, planned delivery. So maybe some other vaccine which can be given during pregnancy when there is endemic or there is some exposure to the particular disease. It's just like these include the pneumococcal vaccines, meningococcal vaccine, and hepatitis A and B. So these vaccines are not necessarily to be given. So this is a ACOG committee which has given this opinion, and they can be given to the high risk cases or when there is a endemic or pandemic. So let's talk about the influenza vaccine. I have already told you a lot of things about it. The only thing is this: the variants have been mutating or changing. So the every time you might get a different vaccine, and it is written over the vaccine that which I mean H1N1 or H2N2. There are different codes over them. They are basically two influenza, type A and type B, and they have a seasonal variation. and according to that you can plan your vaccination. Most of the studies they say that it is quite safe. The safety concern, there should not be any safety concern, because most of the study they say that these are quite safe in pregnancy for the baby as well as for the mother. Then timing of influenza vaccination during pregnancy, as I already told you, if it is given uh, in a pre-pregnancy phase, basically there are 2 doses 4 weeks apart. If you are given first dose before pregnancy, then wait for the first trimester to finish, and it should be given in somewhere in third trimester. But if it has not been given earlier in a pre-pregnancy phase, then as early as possible you should give. You can wait for the first trimester and can give into the 14 to 16 weeks of the pregnancy. So these are the different types. It is trivalent, it could be a quadrivalent, and as I already told you, it could be a live vaccine also. So let's not go into the too much of detail. If quadrivalent vaccine is available, then it is the best one. It should be preferred over another one. And if the pre-pregnancy influenza vaccination has been done, then 26 weeks onward is the preferable time to be given, because here the baby will also be protected because of the antibodies which are passing on to the baby. Now come to the tetanus vaccine. As I already told you, TD is a better option than the tetanus toxoid, and now I think most of you gynecologists must have been shifted to TD instead of plain tetanus toxoid. So first dose of tetanus toxoid, it should be given in the form of TD, and second dose of the tetanus toxoid should have been given as a Tdap. So these two shots and one influenza, these three vaccines are required. So instead of giving plain tetanus toxoid, first dose should be combined with diphtheria, and second dose should be combined with the diphtheria and acellular pertussis. So this should be the vaccination schedule, and the first dose should be administered as soon as pregnancy is detected, and second dose should be given somewhere after 27 weeks onwards. So after 26 weeks, anytime you can give, because here you are giving for the baby, so better to give in the third trimester. If mother has already received 2 doses of tetanus in last pregnancy, still Tdap must have been given, because Tdap we are giving not for the mother, it is for the baby, because the antibodies are passing to the baby, which has been shown by the cord blood. Some experts recommend that the second dose of the vaccine should be given 4 weeks prior to the expected date of the delivery, and that is what I told you, up to 36 weeks. So 27 to 36 weeks, you can give Tdap anytime. Then WHO also recommend a third vaccine to be given 6 months after the second one. And one more thing I would like to highlight, if like mother has come at the time of just for the delivery at term, then and she has not taken any vaccination, then just after postpartum you can go for influenza and Tdap, right? So if she has missed all these vaccines, but and she has come just for the delivery at term, then still you can give these two at least vaccine, Tdap and this one, in fact rubella also. I'll come to those things later on. And then for a few words about the Tdap, like pertussis disease, we give the DPT vaccination to the baby at the 6th week, right? And so up to 6 to 8 weeks of the age, baby is exposed to pertussis disease, and which is the highest in this period. And more than 90%, in fact, under 2 months with pertussis infection are hospitalized. So this is really a very troublesome problem. And 76% of the pertussis related death occur in infant aged under 2 months. And that is why baby less than 6 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks, they should have been protected by any way. And the best way is to immunize the mother, because these antibodies, they pass on through the cord blood to the baby. So as per current practice, only children are vaccinated with DTP starting at 6 weeks, and up to 6 weeks they are exposed to all these diseases. Then what happens when only children are vaccinated? See, so here comes the concept of cocooning. So cocooning is the word where we immunize all the other family member with this vaccine, so that there will be a kind of the herd immunity in the house, and baby will not get infection from the other family members, right? So this is the concept of cocooning. So older individuals represent as a reservoir of the infection, and they may potentially transmit disease to unvaccinated or partially vaccinated infants. And that is why their vaccination, if can be done timely, then it will give a very good blanket to the baby. And this is known as cocoon. So what is the Tdap vaccine? Tdap vaccine, it contains diphtheria, tetanus, and produces acellular antigen in reduced amount compared to the pediatric vaccine. So it is little different from the pediatric DPT vaccine which we are giving. And it contains diphtheria toxoid, tetanus toxoid, and PT, FHA, and PR. Uh, Tdap should be administered during pregnancy in order to provide optimal protection to the baby in the first months of the few months of the life. And instead of second dose of tetanus toxoid, Tdap should have been given. So now the latest trend is you give influenza vaccine, you give TD vaccine, and you give Tdap vaccine. The three shots. I will come to that uh, again, and this should be given somewhere 27 weeks onwards, and it should be given in each pregnancy. It is even if she has taken in previous pregnancy, still you have to give it. This is really important. You can't miss this Tdap vaccine just because she has taken earlier, because here we are giving for the baby. And as I already told you, if patient has missed Tdap vaccine in pregnancy and she has come in the late pregnancy stage after 36 weeks, then immediately postpartum you should give this vaccine, because it releases in the breast milk also. So baby will get from there also. So one dose of the Tdap vaccine during pregnancy, preferably during 27 to 36 weeks, regardless of the number of years from the prior TD or Tdap vaccination, should have been given. This is the IAP recommendation. Uh, Vaccine effectiveness against hospitalization is 94%. So very good. 94 is a very good percentage. And these are some different studies. So now come to hepatitis A vaccine. This is not regularly recommended, and in fact, hepatitis A vaccine should not be given in the pregnancy. It should have been given in pre-pregnancy period, where it is either patient is high risk to rape, maybe some that in particular area this is endemic, or if there is a pandemic, then it should have been given. But if a patient is exposed in the pregnancy phase, then you have to outweigh the risk of the hepatitis A infection, and then take a take your own call, and you can give in pregnancy also. Finally, if a pregnant woman is exposed to hepatitis A infection, the immunoglobulin is strongly recommended, but it should be given with the immunoglobulin, which considered safe, and it is more than 85% effective in preventing acute hepatitis infection during pregnancy. So if she is exposed during pregnancy, and one more thing, if patient has taken hepatitis A vaccine, and basically whenever we give such vaccine, we keep a gap of at least 8 to 12 weeks for the pregnancy to occur. But if a patient by chance could not be identified and she become pregnant, MTP is not advised, right? So you can't advise MTP just because she has taken inadvertently she was given the vaccine. What are the high risk factors for hepatitis A, where this vaccine should have been given? The long-term liver disease, hemophilia, intravenous illegal drugs, working with or near sewage, working in institution where level of personal hygiene may be poor, working with primates like monkey, apes, chimps, and gorilla. So 2 doses 6 months apart is the vaccination that should have been given to these people in pre-pregnancy period. And now comes for the hepatitis B. Hepatitis B vaccine again not recommended in the during pregnancy in a routine. It should have been given previously. You have to when the patient comes for a pre-conceptional counseling, that time you can go for her viral marker, and you can check if the husband is positive, then you can give her hepatitis B vaccine, just see her titer also, and then advise this vaccine. And 2 or 3 doses according to the age of the patient. Like in adolescent, 2 doses are sufficient, and in adult, 3 doses are recommended. And if patient is has a exposure, like husband is positive, then obviously 3 doses at the 0, 1, and 6 months. And this should be offered for the pregnant woman if she is a high risk. Like if later on you come to know that husband is positive, then you can give hepatitis B vaccination. And because here again you have to outweigh the risk in comparison to the safety. So otherwise pregnancy is not considered, and this is this should be contraindicated. Women considered to be at risk of hepatitis are the who inject drug or have a partner who is positive, or he inject drugs. Women with multiple sexual partners are also like sex worker and others. They are also to be taken as a high risk. Who are who the women whose close family member or sexual partner are hepatitis B positive. Patient with hepatitis B, women who receive regular patient with hepatitis B, you see her serum titers and then decide vaccination is required or not. Women who receive regular blood transfusion, they like hemophilia, then or blood products. Yeah, women with liver disease or chronic kidney disease, women traveling to high risk countries, they might require hepatitis B vaccination. Even yellow fever vaccination and other kind of the vaccination are also uh, can be given in such situations, and female sex workers. So now come to the meningococcal vaccine. Again, this is not routinely recommended. It all depends upon the in which area you are living, and if there is endemic, then high risk endemic areas, or you are traveling to the high risk endemic areas, then you must take this meningococcal vaccine. And preferably quadrivalent vaccine. The conjugated vaccine is and one is the quadrivalent vaccine. So you prefer this quadrivalent one. And usual advice is to avoid vaccination unless mother is at high risk of the disease. So again, these vaccines are not routinely recommended until unless there is some high risk situation, and you outweigh the risk, and then decide that they should be given. And again pneumococcal vaccine, it should be given in preconceptional period. The advisory committee of on immunological practice, they suggest that this is not recommended in pregnancy in a routine. And the safety of pneumococcal polysaccharide variant during the first trimester variant has not been evaluated. There's no study available that shows that what effects are on the newborn if it is given. But if advertently vaccinated, mother is advertently vaccinated, then you should not advise MTB, because there is no adverse consequences seen in such babies whose mother had been inadvertently vaccinated during the pregnancy time. Then again, this is HEV vaccine. This is not given here in India. And so now come to the what are the vaccines which should not be given in the pregnancy. BCG vaccine should not be given. Polio as a live virus vaccine you should not give. Measles vaccine should not be given. Mumps vaccine, so like MMR vaccine, it should not be given in the pregnancy because these are live virus vaccine. And virus can multiply, it can change virulence. So potentially it can affect the baby. Although if inadvertently given, the MTP advice should not be given. Varicella vaccine means chickenpox vaccine, and smallpox vaccine. Smallpox vaccine is totally contraindicated, and this has been seen in studies that it can affect the fetus, so it should not be given. And nowadays we are not giving. And human HPV vaccine, again HPV vaccine should be avoided. But if inadvertently given in pregnancy, not indicated for the MTP. And if patient has taken one dose of the HPV vaccine just before, and then she becomes pregnant unknowingly, then second dose can be postponed till she delivered, and after delivery you can give the second dose of the HPV vaccine, and you can continue your vaccination after delivery. So for all these live vaccine, this is better if you require second or third doses later on, to wait till delivery and then continue same schedule as it was planned. So you need not to give some extra dose, right? So your first dose will be included. Now, vaccine safety, as I already told you, live vaccines are contraindicated, and however, there's the risk of live vaccine is theoretical. It's only the theoretical, because we know the live virus can multiply, although there is no direct evidence which shows that they affect baby. Example, MMR, varicella, when inadvertently it was given to the mother, there was no effect on the baby, and mother was also like there was no effect on mother. But theoretically, because we can't think, so we just avoid giving these vaccine in the pregnancy until unless they are indicated because of some exposure or some high risk condition. But smallpox is the only vaccine which is proven to transmit it to fetus, as I already told you. So it should not be given, and it is not distributed now. Avoidance of live vaccine is based on theory only. So whenever you find that you have taken vaccine and suddenly you come to know that you are pregnant, don't go for the MTP. Don't advise your patient for MTP. So there's no evidence of fetal risk with inactivated vaccine, like inactivated influenza. They are absolutely safe. Bacterial vaccines, meningococcal, toxoid vaccine like TD or Tdap. Then ACOG committee opinion about the maternal immunization is like it can be initiated postpartum also, or when breastfeeding, both the time. These are the inactivated influenza. If mother has not been given influenza vaccine in pregnancy, she can take just after delivery. Okay, so in postpartum period, you can give inactivated influenza if not given earlier. Tetanus toxoid, these are all the vaccine if she has not taken before, or if she is exposed, then you can give just after delivery. So these are the inactivated influenza, tetanus toxoid. These are postpartum period. You can give these vaccine if she has missed the dose. Tdap, pneumococcal vaccine, meningococcal, according to their endemic area. Then hepatitis A or B, measles, mumps, rubella, varicella. These all vaccine can be given in postpartum period, because through breast milk they are not going to harm your baby. In fact, they are going to give immunity to the baby, because they are the antibodies are passing to the baby through the breast milk. Now, guidelines for collection, analysis, and presentation of safety data in clinical trial of vaccine in pregnant. The guidelines proposed in uh, so they have taken from the mother, fetus, and infant. They take all the three, like, because we are dealing with the pregnant, so obviously fetus and infants are also included in the data. And so now come to the preconceptional vaccination. What are the vaccines you should advise to your patient who are going to get become pregnant? And the best time is the when there are many a time patient they come that ma'am, we are going to get married next month and I want to postpone my period. This is the time you can advise for the vaccination also, because maybe later on she will not come to you, or she will come when she will become already pregnant. So these are the time when the or when the mother or grandmother, they come for their own checkup, then that time you can advise them to bring their young daughters for the vaccination. So these are the time where you can advise for the vaccination, because preconceptional vaccination is the best time. They can avoid the exposure during the pregnancy, and the baby and infant will be safe from the many of the diseases. So like these vaccines are the MMR vaccine, rubella vaccine, and that is why when the patient comes in a pregnancy, detailed history is really important. If she has any exposure of chickenpox in childhood, or rubella exposure, or measles exposure, because then you decide which vaccine should have been given, titer should have been taken or not. Like for rubella, you have to check the IgG titer, just to check that she requires it or not. If IgG titers are low, then you can give rubella vaccine just after delivery. And so, detailed history is very important, which vaccination she has already taken in the childhood. So, and then you decide in preconceptional period which vaccination should have been given. So, like MMR, rubella, these 2 doses, 4 weeks apart. Influenza, I already told you, at least one shot should have been given. Then HPV, hepatitis B, 016, hepatitis A, 6 months apart, 2 doses. COVID-19, again preconceptional, because government has not allowed in pregnancy. They have not uh, uh, given a clean check to the pregnancy, or although they have given a clean check during lactation but not during pregnancy. So it's better we should ask all our patients to go for the preconceptional vaccination. And uh, Even if they become pregnant, uh, in that phase, or they were pregnant unknowingly, they have taken this vaccine, it's not going to harm, because this is accumulated. Virus cannot multiply inside the body. If it cannot multiply in the body, it can't go to the baby, you understand, and it can't multiply in the baby also. So theoretically it's safe. And because it is not recommended by GOI, so we can't advise our pregnant patient to take it. But yes, in preconceptional phase we can ask them to take. And even pregnancy test is not mandatory before giving COVID vaccination. Then the Tdap, varicella and typhoid, these vaccine can be given, and it's preferably 3 months before they should have been given the planning of pregnancy. But even if patient gets pregnant in this period, MTP is not advised. As I already told you, they are quite safe. MMR rubella vaccine, 2 doses, 4 weeks apart, as I already told you. Then the conclusion is vaccination during pregnancy is a cost-effective strategy to improve pregnancy outcome in India, creating awareness regarding benefit and the vaccine safety. No risk to fetus after vaccination of pregnant women with inactivated vaccine or bacterial vaccine or toxoid. All live vaccine should be avoided during pregnancy, as I already told you. And government should be included these vaccine in routine immunization program. This we Foxy advice. I mean, these are recommendation to the government. So 3 shots in pregnancy must have been given, if not given earlier. TD 24 weeks or earlier. Earlier, when it was not given in pre-pregnancy phase, if it has been given in pre-conceptional phase, then 24 weeks. If it has never been given, then earlier, like 14 to 16 weeks, as soon as she has come to know that she's pregnant. Influenza 28 weeks, Tdap 27 to 36 weeks. The 3 shot should have been given in pregnancy. So thank you very much. I think it has been quite clear now that which vaccines are necessary, which vaccine should not be given, which vaccine should be advised pre-conceptional, which should have been given in pregnancy, and which should have been given postnatally. And if inadvertently given, then what should have been done. If you have any query, I think we should take after COVID. Now I'm taking another talk, COVID vaccination in pregnancy.
Yes, doctor. Sure.
Right? Okay. Can you see my screen?
No, as of now.
Like, that should. there are multiple. Okay, I think I should leave the meeting first, then go again.
No, you can start sharing, doctor.
But it's not allowing.
Why?
It's showing the multiple screen.
You are co-host. Yeah, now we can see your screen.
You can see?
Yeah.
Okay. So now start with the COVID vaccination. COVID vaccination for pregnant and breastfeeding women, which is I guess is our highest concern right now, because government have approved for the lactation, but has not approved right now for the um, you know pregnancy, which is a highest demand. Why? Because if you see that around 50 million population will get benefit out of it if it is allowed. Why? Because there are around 25 million deliveries in a year in India, and 25 million are breastfeeding or in a pregnancy phase. So that way around 50 million population will be benefited if it is allowed. And Foxy has recommended, Foxy and other so many bodies have recommended this to the government to allow it, and maybe very soon we are having this yes from the government. And then we can advise to our pregnant patient for this vaccination for COVID-19. So the content of the presentations at the outset, I would say, is a pandemic in India and worldwide, current status, vaccine development and types, what are the COVID vaccines are available, then COVID vaccination benefits to the general population and maternity care, COVID vaccination safety, general public and maternity care, international recommendation on COVID vaccine in pregnancy, what other international uh, societies say, current recommendation on COVID vaccine in maternity care in India, Foxy position on COVID vaccine in maternity, what Foxy says, and common clinical situation and solution and references. So now come to the COVID-19 pandemic in India and worldwide. So the source is WHO, and globally as of 26 May, there have been around 168 uh, 551,552. I mean, some really a big number confirmed cases of COVID-19, and this includes a large number of deaths, around 3.5 millions, and reported by WHO. As of today, a total of 170 crore vaccine doses have been administered worldwide. And what is the situation in India? In India, now the active cases have been coming down, and discharge cases are increasing. Uh, Deaths in second waves have been increased in comparison to the first wave. Total vaccination, if you go through, is around 19 million, again, 191 million. So it's a good vaccination number. And if you see that, then you will come to know that India is around approximately third place in the number of vaccination after China and US. So we are really very fast in vaccinating our population. And initially, when India, the vaccination was started in India, it was started somewhere from the December. December, the enrollment was started, and January, 16 January, I think the first dose was given in India, and it was started with the frontliners Then 61 or more, to the senior citizen, and then they included 45 plus population if there is some comorbidity also, and now from the 1st May they have included 18 plus 18 to 45 also. So but they have still in dilemma that it should be given to pregnant women or not, so they have not said yes to the pregnancy, although recently I think 19th May they have approved it during the lactation. There's no precise data for COVID-19 infection in pregnancy and puerperium or postnatally at a global or national level. This is the reason government is little bit hesitating allowing it in pregnancy, because we don't have a solid study, and Foxy has initiated because whosoever have been vaccinated previously, they were all inadvertent vaccination shot. They were not knowing that they are pregnant, and that is why they got vaccination. But none of the study was showing some, some bad effect over the baby or to the mother because of vaccination. But there is no proper study has been done, and two vaccines which are available in India, Covaxin and Covishield, no study have been done right now. Most of the studies have been done by the Moderna vaccine, Pfizer. Foxy has initiated a national registry on COVID-19 infection in pregnancy for this purpose, and pregnant women are not at increased for getting infected as compared to the general population. That has been seen and by the, so whatever studies have been done, although they are not of a very good number. And just as for the general population, COVID-19 has an asymptomatic or mild course in most pregnant women, but compared to non-pregnant women, and if you go for the pregnant women who are not infected with COVID-19, pregnant women who are infected with COVID are more likely to need hospitalization and critical care and mortality. And this is the reason, if we outweigh the risk and safety, then we will find that it is better to vaccinate pregnant mother, because here we are saving two lives, right? And that is why uh, it should be included in vaccination program. Uh, what are the different kind of the COVID vaccine, and what they are actually? So number one is the Covaxin, which is developed by the Bharat Biotech, and it is a whole virus vaccine, but it is a killed virus, so it's safe in pregnancy. As I already told you, killed virus can't multiply, so theoretically it's not going to affect mother, it's not going to affect baby, because it can't multiply, it can't change virulence, it can't make you infect. Okay, so but here you need a booster dose also, so at least two doses are must. Now the recommendation are 8 to 12 weeks. The whole then another is the whole virus live attenuated vaccine, and live virus are not recommended in pregnancy, but it is not in India and it is not marketed in fact, right? So let's not talk about it. Another is the Novavax, which is protein subunit vaccine, as it is again a viral particle, so it's again theoretically safe in pregnancy. And another common which is available in India is the Covishield, which is produced by the AstraZeneca. It is also called as the Oxford vaccine. And it's a viral vector vaccine where adenovirus is a harmless adenovirus is used as a vector to carry the genetic material of the COVID-19. And again, it is harmless. It produces a good immunity to the host. And it's just like Ebola vaccine. Ebola vaccine is a similar kind of the vaccine where we use viral vector to carry the genetic material of the that particular organism against which we want immunity. And here again, two doses are required. Then nucleic acid vaccine, which is a Moderna or produced by the Pfizer. It is not right now available in India because it is difficult to maintain the strict cold chain, which is at the minus 70 degree. So in hot countries like India, it's really difficult to maintain minus 70 degree for this vaccine. But Sputnik, which is similar to Covishield, can be given, and it has been delivered to India also, and most likely in mid of the June, I think the vaccination by this will start, or maybe I think it has been already started from the Hyderabad. I have confused. Then COVID vaccine development and for pregnant women, live attenuated vaccines are contraindicated. So we are not giving any live vaccine. None of the COVID vaccine available in the market right now are live vaccine. So all the vaccines are safe. Storage, most of the vaccine can be stored and transported at 2 to 8 degrees centigrade, and it is similar to the other vaccines. So no issue. However, mRNA vaccine, as I already told you, Moderna is another vaccine which requires a stringent cold chain. COVID vaccine, what other things are important about the COVID vaccine is the dose. So all the vaccine at present recommend 2 doses, and they are administered intramuscular, preferably on the deltoid, means the shoulder, and the interval between 2 doses is generally 4 to 8 weeks, but now GOI has recommended 12 weeks difference between 2 doses. And the only exception is the Janssen vaccine from the Johnson & Johnson, which is meant to be a single dose, but it is not available in India. Currently available COVID vaccine in India are the Covishield and Covaxin, and Sputnik has also come, but Sputnik is just like a Covishield. It's a Russian vaccine, we all know. These are the 3 vaccines now available in India, including Sputnik. COVID vaccine benefit general population and maternity care. What are the benefit to the general population and mother? The rationale of vaccine in COVID-19 are to reduce the risk of infection, as it is a public health problem. We all know it is a pandemic, and it's going to stay for a few more years. Maybe third wave, we are expecting that very soon it is going to come. So it's better to get a herd immunity, and for getting a herd immunity, at least 60% population should be immunized, and to reduce the risk of severe acute morbidity and mortality from the infection, because till now we have seen that those who were vaccinated, and even if they got infected, they had the they became COVID positive, still none of them were admitted. None of them was admitted in the ICU. They so that way, it is seen that this is really effective, at least to reduce the morbidity and mortality from the infection, and to prevent the long-term effect of the infection. Again, later on, because we don't know what are the long-term effects we are going to have out of this infection. So if we vaccinate our society, then the long-term effect will also be not there, and to prevent transmission to other healthy non-infected individuals. Then the first study conducted on vaccination in pregnant and lactating women was published last month from the USA. The study showed, and as I already told you, it was done with this Pfizer vaccine, Moderna. The study showed that COVID vaccination generates a robust immune response in pregnant and lactating women, which is equivalent to the general population. That's a very good thing, because it's not like they will not get that much of prevention. It will be equal to the non-pregnant person. And additionally, most important thing is the protective antibodies were also isolated in umbilical cord blood and breast milk. So this is an additional benefit, because the fetus and newborn are protected if they are taking breast milk. And this data pertains to 131 women who were vaccinated from the mRNA vaccine, and at present there is no data for the Covishield or Covaxin. But anyway, each vaccine works in a similar way, so we can imply it on for the Covaxin and for Covishield also. Almost all vaccines have same unwanted effect. So if you give DPT, you give MMR vaccine to your baby will have a little bit of fever, so these body ache, headache, kind of the general malaise kind of the symptom. So almost all vaccines have the similar unwanted effect. They are usually minor, temporary, and non-lethal, and can be taken care of by the symptomatic treatment. These effects are looked upon as evidence that an immune response is being generated. You should be happy that immune response has been generated in your body, which is actually the goal. And commonly seen minor side effects may be immediate in the form of pain, sweating, and nausea. And in the first 7 days, the vaccine may cause fever, fatigue, myalgia, arthralgia, lymphadenopathy, local pain, swelling, redness, rash, and diarrhea. So first week is really important. You have to keep an eye on such patient. You can tell them beforehand that you might have these problem. That means your vaccine is working. These effects are seen in significant proportion of the population who receive the vaccine, although there are some people, they have a very minor symptoms out of these vaccination program. In pregnancy, there could be concern regarding the transmission to the fetus, this COVID infection, which, as I already told you, this is a killed virus. It can't multiply, so there is no question of transmission of infection, right? And there is and we are not using any live vaccine. The other concern are regarding the occurrence of adverse pregnancy outcome such as miscarriage, low birth weight, preterm birth, stillbirth, and congenital anomaly. And that is again with all the studies have been seen, or all the inadvertent vaccination program we have seen, there is none of the baby show such kind of the problems. The data was taken from the American Bee Safe Registry is reassuring in this regard. There is no increase in maternal side effect with vaccination administration in pregnancy as compared to the non-pregnant women. There is a little bit of theoretical thromboembolic phenomena which may be enhanced by this vaccine. Because in pregnancy, pregnancy is again is a hypercoagulable state, and theoretically you can take it as a risk, especially to those females who have a higher tendency to have a thromboembolic disorder or history of thromboembolic disorder in previous pregnancy. But that is very rare thing, and I would say the risk of getting an infection and causing morbidity is 10 times higher than this thromboembolic episode. So let's take it as a rare thing. um, Women who have delivered after receiving the vaccine in pregnancy do not show any increased risk of the mentioned adverse effect. These data pertain to the use of mRNA vaccine, as I already told you, and 35,000 pregnant women were enrolled in this study. At present, we don't have any data for the Covishield or Covaxin. International recommendation on COVID vaccine. There are a lot of international organizations which have state that the ratio of potential benefit and risk, if you see, then they in a given geographical area, then you decide that I mean COVID-19, the risk of getting COVID-19 in pregnancy, if it is more, then the resulting morbidity is much more. So the theoretical risk of the vaccine are very less in comparison to the resultant morbidity and the getting the infection of COVID-19 in the pregnancy. So if you if the risk outweigh the if the safety outweigh the risk, then I think it should be recommended. The ACOG state that the pregnancy testing should not be mandated before vaccination, and neither should it be deferred for women who are in the preconception period. So if the women is preconception period and if she wants to get vaccination, you can give a green signal for her, and it's not recommended to go for a pregnancy test before getting the this vaccination, and even the RAT test is not required. Rapid antigen test is not required before vaccination. So these are the guidelines by the government of India, and these bodies have emphasized that the lack of data of vaccine use in pregnancy, so they empower women to make an informed choice. So that is why these body they empower women. They have left it to the choice of women, and if they are in a high risk group like healthcare workers, the security persons, army people, they should go for the vaccination even if they are pregnant, because they are like we doctors, nurses, we are at a higher risk to get the infection. So, and we know that it's quite safe, whatever studies we are having. So we should take the vaccine, although government of India has not advised. But if there is some exposure, somebody in your family is positive, and you might think that you had come in contact with that person, then again vaccination is a better choice instead of not getting vaccinated in pregnancy. International bodies such as FIGO, ACOG, RCOG, and SOGC mention the need for follow-up of women who are vaccinated during pregnancy and lactation, and to publish and disseminate such information. And there is a format also for lactating female, because lactation has been given a green signal, to, so it's good to fill a form for all the lactational female, to just to check that what was the long term, effect over the baby and mother. So the current recommendation on COVID vaccine in maternity care in India, recommendation on COVID vaccination in maternity care are really important. As I already told you, it will affect the 50 million lives in India every year, based on 25 million births annually and equal number in pre-conception and post-delivery period. At present, the recommendation from the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, lactation is not a bar for vaccination. They have included it in the vaccination program, and this is based on the sound principle that there is no data available to ensure safety in pregnancy. That is why they have not included pregnancy. Both the manufacturer in India also state the same in their product literature. This is also relevant from the point of view that vaccination in India was started on a trial mode. So, with the new data from across the world, this may be due to a revision to broaden the vaccine drive and include pregnant and lactating women based on the emerging global. If you see the global data, it's absolutely safe in pregnancy and lactating women. So lactating women, although included are pregnant women, very soon maybe the new order will come up, and they will allow pregnant women also. At the present time, it is emphasized that individual practitioner cannot advise vaccination. So you can't advise vaccination to your pregnant patients in India until there is a change in recommendation from Ministry of Health and Family Welfare and Government of India. Now, what is the FOXI position statement regarding this COVID vaccination for pregnancy and breastfeeding women? FOXI acknowledges that there is limited data available on the use of COVID vaccine in pregnancy, especially of the vaccine that are available in India. As matters stand in our country, every individual needs protection from the surging COVID-19 infection. Then why expectant mother to be excluded from this program? The very real benefit of vaccinating pregnant and lactating women seem to far outweigh any theoretical and remote risk of vaccination. Lactating women should also be considered as COVID vaccine candidates. So they are right now, and there are no known adverse effect on the neonate who is breastfeeding. In fact, it is beneficial. Why? Because these antibodies are passing through the breast milk to the baby, and that will give a protective and beneficial effect to the infant. This statement is based on an assessment of the following factors: density of population and current infection rates in the country, a substantial increase in the incidence and severity of COVID-19, especially the second wave, is really uh, highly morbid, and mortality is really high. So, and this time we are seeing a lot of antenatal patients are getting infected, and a lot of problems out of it. Many patients, they are having the passing into the preterm delivery. Even I have seen the IUGR with the oligohydramnias. In fact, I would say is commoner in such people, especially the post-COVID pregnant women, and they are the severity is more, and many a time it ended up with a death of the patient, and that's really should not happen. Risk of serious morbidity with the infection in pregnancy, even though most pregnant women will have a mild course, 85% of the pregnant patient, if they acquire infection, they have a milder course, but 15% are really suffering from the moderate to severe problem. The demonstrated efficacy of the vaccine available in India and efficient rollout of the country, experience of decades of vaccine administration in pregnancy with vaccine of other diseases. There are a lot of other vaccines which are of similar kind, this killed viral vaccine, and we have seen they are not affecting mother and baby. So if we take into the account, then theoretically these vaccines are, this COVID-19 vaccine is also safe in pregnancy. women should be counted, but whenever you find such kind of the person, and if they ask for the vaccine, they should be counseled and empowered to make their own decision, supported by the caregivers. There should not be any discrimination between women who accept or refuse the vaccine. We can't we should not force them. And when it is possible to administer it in our country to pregnant and lactating women, it is recommended that obstetrician, gynecologists, and women healthcare providers should be allowed to administer the COVID vaccine in pregnant and breastfeeding women when this recommendation will come. In terms of the precaution and care, pregnant and lactating women should be cared for in the same manner as the general population after the vaccination. They should be kept under observation for a half an hour, and later on also they should be given some instruction regarding the side effect of the vaccine. Vaccine administration and day of the care, there are some common clinical situation and their solution. There is no physiological, endocrine, and immunological basis for such a consideration. Women should receive the vaccination on any day of the menstrual cycle, even during menstruation. Uh, in the preconceptional period, or those who are going to get this infertility treatment, uh, such women, they are also allowed. And it is all the studies have shown that there is no effect, not at all effect on fertility. So those who are planning for the pregnancy, they are, if they are going for IVF in next few months, they can get vaccination. Their fertility is not going to reduce or not going to affect in any way. There's no increase in miscarriage rate by these vaccines, so they can go without any hesitation. And the pregnancy testing before administering the vaccine is not mandatory, it's not required, because it might create a hurdle to for the vaccine acceptance, and that is why it is not recommended in the vaccination program. The vaccine does not have any known teratogenic effect as per available evidences. The women who are vaccinated in this manner should not be advised to terminate the pregnancy. If the patient has vaccinated and then she come to know, oh, I am pregnant, then you should not advise MTP. As I already told you, this is not a live vaccine. It's not going to harm the baby. They should be counseled that the risk of congenital anomaly does not rise above the baseline risk. Uh, Worldwide, there are 2% chances of getting the baby congenital, and the same risk here. Then, however, at the present time, it would be prudent to defer vaccination in the first trimester, as there is no substantial available data to establish absence of the teratogenicity. So, if even if the some patient, she is pregnant and she wants vaccination by her own wish, you better ask her to avoid in first trimester. Vaccine for a pregnant women already infected in the past. If the patient is already infected in the past, you wait for 12 weeks and then give the vaccination, or 4 to 8 weeks from her recovery. Vaccine for a pregnant woman with comorbidity, if she is having some pre-existing, like she is diabetic or she is hypertensive, then I would say these comorbidity, in fact, she should get vaccinated. She will be protective, because we all know that the diabetes get worsened if somebody is infected by the uh, COVID. So this is in fact is a protective protection for her. And women with such conditions should consult with their obstetrician or care provider and seek their advice on this. For the breastfeeding women, it is recommended. There's no harm. There's no the effect on the the amount of breast milk or something like that. In fact, there is a benefit from the passage of antibodies to the neonate. So breastfeeding women must get vaccinated. Contraindication: if there is any anaphylactic or allergic reaction during the first dose, that that of that magnitude that patient needed to be hospitalized or had been given some injection to overcome it, and immediate or delayed onset anaphylaxis or allergic reaction to vaccine or injectable therapies, pharmaceutical product or food. If somebody is already allergic to such thing, then he or she can avoid it. And temporarily in the following condition, uh, diagnosed COVID-19 infection. If you have recently diagnosed with the COVID-19 infection, then defer for 3 months from the infection or 8 weeks from the recovery. Active symptoms of, if you are already having an active symptom of COVID-19 infection, then just wait to rule out this, it is COVID or not. Wait for your report. And then COVID-19 infection treated with anti-COVID-19 monoclonal antibody, or if you have given the convalescent plasma, then again you wait for the 12 weeks. If you have taken antibodies or if you have taken the plasma of a COVID positive, then you defer for 12 weeks again. And if somebody has been hospitalized in ICU or was unwell with some other disease, any other illness like cancer patient or some other kind of the illness, some heart patient or something like that, then again you defer for 4 to 8 weeks till you come out of previous illness. So these are the special condition, and thank you very much, the AmCure, for giving me this opportunity to speak on this really current and hot topic, I would say. And the vaccination is another dilemma between the obstetrician. Many of the obstetrician, they asked me about this vaccination program, what is the current thing, and I think this is the need of the hour to discuss in detail about this subject. Thank you, Sunil ji. Thank you, Komal.
Thank you so much, Doctor. It was a really nice session, a very current topic. Many of the doctors are having, dilemma regarding this COVID and pregnancy, lactation, vaccination. So I believe that a lot of the doubts now will be cleared. So if any of the doctors having any queries can write down in the chat box. Also, I'll just, allow participants to unmute themselves. So now participants, any of the doctor would like to ask anything can unmute them and themselves and ask the question directly. So, okay. So we don't have any queries, doctor.
Okay.
Fine.
So I think it was quite
it was clear.
Right. Quite crisp and clear.
Quite crisp
because I have not left any stone unturned.
Right.
I tried my best to give all the scenario to be included.
Yes, madam.
Right.
That's
true.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. I'm really thankful to AmCure. It's a proud privilege to be associated with you people, and we are looking forward for the more such good topics in near future. Thank you very much.
Definitely, doctor.
And definitely we serve you better nearby future. We conduct more classes with you, madam, as you suggested.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Okay, doctor. Bye. Thanks.